If I told you that I cry 2 to 3 times a week, what would you think? You most likely wouldn't think that much of it because I'm a girl and that doesn't seem very unusual. However, if I told you that one of my guy friends cries 2 to 3 times a week, then you would probably have a very different reaction. You most likely would judge them for that. It's been known that men cry a lot less than women. Society only permits men crying in certain extremely emotional situations. For example, if a guy is crying because he's stressed or experiencing hurt feelings, then he's seen as weak, pathetic, and unmanly. Ideas of masculinity when it comes to crying are taught at a young age from parents and further enforced by society. Crying is a healthy way of coping and should not be seen as unmasculine. This is a topic I discuss with my guy friends a lot, so I thought I would ask some of them some questions. When was the last time you cried?
June of this year.
Sophomore year of high school.
December of 2019.
Why don't you guys cry that much?
I surround myself with happy stuff and try not to think about the sad.
I'm just not a sad person in general, so yeah.
Because the last time I cried was when I tore my ACL, and I haven't torn anything since.
When was the last time that you cried?
Probably May or June of this year.
Okay, why don't you cry that much?
Because I tend to bottle up all of my emotions.
After hearing my friends' responses, I'm not surprised to hear that none of them have cried recently. However, their responses to why they don't cry is very interesting. The first two guys said they don't cry that much because they try not to be sad and aren't sad people. This is because lots of guys don't focus on sadness and instead bottle it up. They will distract themselves, which makes it so they don't always process through their emotions and move on. The third response demonstrates how guys only feel like they can cry if the reason is good enough. He said that he hasn't cried since he tore his ACL, and that's a big, impactful event, so he feels comfortable enough to share that he cried because of it. The last guy said that he bottles his emotions up, which is very common for guys to do, but not a lot of them will realize and admit that they do that. It's important to acknowledge that some of the reason men don't cry as much as women is because men and women process emotions differently. This is due to different hormones and differences in the way their brains process emotions. However, societal ideals have made it even harder for men to open up and cry about their problems. From a young age, men are taught to hide their feelings. Young boys are told not to cry like a girl or to stop crying like a baby. People make fun of boys for crying. Younger boys also watch movies and shows that further express that crying is only acceptable in very extreme situations. Men in movies and shows only cry if big emotional events happen, like the death of someone important. Even in those scenes, men are only shown crying for a very short period of time. If a man is seen having a full crying breakdown, it is usually seen as a comedic moment. When boys watch how men act on television, they are taught ideas of masculinity that they try to mimic. Another big misconception men are taught is that vulnerability means a loss of self-control. Just because someone is crying doesn't mean they are completely losing it. It's normal for people to break down when healing. Moreover, men are encouraged to channel their emotions and feelings into aggression over sadness. Men will punch walls or act in anger when they have strong feelings over being sad and crying about it. Rage and anger are seen as strengths for men, while vulnerability and sensitivity are seen as weaknesses. Men should be able to cry and display emotions without it being seen as embarrassing. According to Why You Should Cry: 5 Reasons to Let It All Out by Penn Medicine, when we cry, we are actually relieving our body of countless toxins and hormones that contribute to elevated stress levels. This in turn can help individuals to sleep better, strengthen their immune system, and avoid gaining weight. By lowering our stress levels, crying may also help lower our blood pressure. Additionally, the article "Is Crying Good for You?" from Harvard Health addresses how crying is an important safety valve, largely because keeping difficult feelings inside, what psychologists call repressive coping, can be bad for our health. Studies have linked repressive coping with a less resilient immune system, cardiovascular disease, and hypertension, as well as with mental health conditions including stress, anxiety, and depression. Therefore, crying has health benefits and is effective. Not only is crying a good coping strategy, but crying and demonstrating vulnerability are necessary when developing deeper connections with people. It's crucial for men to be in touch with their feelings to build bonds with others. The problem is that men are told to suppress their emotions and not cry, which leads them to not be in touch with their emotions. Men can be emotionally unavailable, which could cause problems in future relationships with people. At the end of the day, crying is important for everyone. Crying is a coping strategy that allows people to get through hard times. Men should not be discouraged from feeling emotions since it can be very unhealthy for them.